That was a technical decision. That's what the court said. And yet today, we have vestiges of that segregated system still among us, because what it required was that you change the way you react. People did not want to change. It came in all kind of guises. Well, busing is bad. Well, we need locus control schools. All kinds of reasons why not to fully implement that decision. But at the root of it all, what people were not, black, no, I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to give any fault to black, but white people were not willing to make that change. That was an adaptive change. Now, when I was in school, we called it we didn't call it taking versus adaptive, we called it the gap. And what we meant by that is that technology moves much faster than mores and changing mores, foreways, and how people think. So that is one of the problems we have here. And we have to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers. We have to talk with the South Florida Water Management District about that. That you can do all these wonderful things, but you must bring into play how people feel, and you must also bring into play the viewpoint of others who are affected by this work that you do. Transparency. If there's any one concept that can change the way we govern, it is transparency. That is the most important thing. And what do I mean by transparency? I mean governing bodies, be they administrative or elected, being absolutely clear and open to the public about what they are doing. In governance of people, there is no room for backroom discussions. Number one, I don't care how beneficial it is, if a small group making that decision, people are going to feel there is something missing. You have to hold the government, the South Florida Water Management District, the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't care how many plans they come up with about how they want you to do your input. You have to say, okay, we'll do that. But we want all of these decisions in an open public forum that allow us to have input. You have to insist on that, because government in the closet is for those who are in the closet. No one is going, if you cannot make that decision in public, then it's not for the public good. If it is for the public good, you can make it out in the open. There's no reason, I hear these, well, we can't really talk about it, we really need to be able to, if it's for the public good, the decision can be made in the public. Right. How is it for my interest and you have to go in a back room to make the decision? That makes no sense. So you absolutely insist on transparency and don't accept anything less. Now, what are the next steps? I brought some copies of the article with me, and I'm going to briefly just read from it and then tell you some things I think you need to do about being an active part of the stimulus plan, etc., about the money generally being spent for Everglades restoration. What I said, what we said in the article, and I brought some copies and I'll leave them here, is funding from all sources. The President, as part of the annual budget of the United States government, shall display under the heading Everglades Restoration all proposed funding for the plan for all agency programs. And under section Outreach and Assistance, small business concerns owned and operated by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. In executing the plan, the Secretary shall ensure that small business concerns owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals are provided opportunities to participate under Section 15G of the Small Business Act, blah, blah, blah. Community outreach and education. The Secretary shall ensure, and this is the Secretary of the Army. Let's get our players together here. The Secretary shall ensure that impacts on socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, including individuals with limited English proficiency and communities, are considered during implementation of the plan, and that such individuals have opportunities to review and comment on its implementation. They are not supposed to be passing any plans that you have not commented on. If they pass the plan and don't let them sucker punch you by setting up that little group to comment on the plan. This has to be generated from the community. Provisions of opportunity. The Secretary shall ensure to the maximum extent that the public outreach and education opportunities are provided during implementation of the plan to the individuals of South Florida, including individuals with limited English proficiency, and in particular for socially economic disadvantaged communities. I can tell you exactly what I meant by that. I meant you. You people here who are part of the community and who are economically or socially disadvantaged. It is unambiguous as to what I meant. So if anybody wants to know what was meant by that, I can tell them. Now, what are the next steps? Number one, you need to pull together a coalition of people and write to the President of these United States, whatever your concerns are. And I will bet you, he's got too many things on his plate, that the President of the United States is not aware of this provision. I will bet you the new Secretary of the Army is not aware of these provisions. I will bet you that there's nobody in the Army Corps of Engineers that have walked up to him and said, you know, we really need to enforce this provision. I will bet you that. I'll bet you the proverbial donut to a dollar that nobody in the Army, I will bet you nobody in the South Florida Water Management District has gone to the Secretary of the Army and said, look at this provision, what do we do about this? Now who's going to do it then? Who has to bring it to their attention? Who must do that work? You must do that work. So that's one thing you want to do. Then you want to send a copy of that letter that you sent to the President. You want to send it to the Secretary of the Army. You want to send it to the Executive Director of the South Water Management. And you want to send it to the Governor of the state of Florida. That's the first step. The letter. Next step. You want to begin to build a coalition of supporters at the local government level in the 16-county district that is the Water Management District. Next step, you want to begin to build a caucus of elected officials at the state level in that 16-county district to support what you want to do. This is not rocket science. This is community organization. And then you want to build a coalition of federally elected officials around this issue. You can have the day. You can win this. But it's going to take a lot of work, and it has to be well organized. And I can tell you, you have at your disposal one of the great community organizers in this country. And I'm not laying it on thick. Al is good at that. He knows how to bring people together and get them organized around an effort. And if you guys will pull together and really push this to the front of the table, I think we can see some real change. Last, and I'll end with this. I read something recently that stuck in my mind, and I'm going to see if I can stick it in your mind. Because I don't fully appreciate what all it means, but I know it's got to be important. Because it sort of gets at that otherness that divides us. And that is, it is by the port, I think it's an Indian port named Sufi, I think. And it's one of the most powerful, simple statements I've ever heard. Beyond the ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Thank you very much.
Beyond the ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I will meet you there. Oh, I love it. And actually, we have seen such fields. We have seen such fields in the swamp of the Anhinga Trail in Everglades National Park. I hope you've been there. Along that trail, you will see great blue herons, stately. I think they're almost 6 feet tall with their neck extended, 6-foot wingspans. 8-foot wingspans? Wow. You see wood storks walking amongst alligators. You might see a purple gallinule stepping so softly on the reeds that it barely breaks the water. It's walking on top of the water. You will see animals that look as though they would have to be in conflict, and they're all serene in their space, life proceeding as it has for millennia and millennia and millennia. And my daily meditation is to stay in that place where we all are one. I think Frank made some very profound points, the most important of which is that because our collaborative was able to get that language in the legislation of the Water Resources Development Act of 2000, the community now has something to hang its hat on to make the people who are in charge of Everglades restoration responsible to you. Were it not for that piece of legislation, we might again now be needed to start from scratch. And as Frank says, there are lots of laws on the book, but unless there's somebody who knows enough and is willing to build the coalition that forces their implementation, then they just remain impotent. We really cannot allow that to happen. Again, I also want to reiterate his emphasis on the fact that what is needed is adaptive change. We have to change our entire mindset. The documentary that we watched earlier, it made me feel really, really stupid. I mean, if as a human being, all that I'm doing is living to buy and to gratify my ego with things that are produced from the blood, sweat, and tears of others, I don't feel that I'm living up to my highest potential. So we definitely need to be thinking about that adaptive change. The next item on the program is for former Congresswoman Carrie Meek to talk about the Water Resources Development Act of 2000. But it is not my understanding that she's here. So, is she here? Yeah? Okay, no, she's not here. In the interim, I just want to acknowledge there are so many of our friends in the room today. I'm really, really so excited and happy. But I want to make a particular note of our friend Thaddeus Hamilton, who, when we came back and got in, hold up your hand, Thaddeus, please. Yes, when we came back and got involved with the environment, Thaddeus was the first other person of color that we came across, because you were working in the
United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Yeah, that long time ago. You understand why I could remember it, right? And then Thaddeus and I served on the Broward County Land Preservation Advisory Board together, working to get parcels of land protected from development. That was in the 90s and the early 2000s, something like that.